Okay, welcome to Wetenskap og Demokrati, Science and Democracy again. This is the last module, and this module will be about the ethics of the attention economy. And this will be organized in a slightly different way than the way I've done it previously. Since this is some research that I myself have started to do, and which will occupy me actually for the next 5 years in very big research projects. We'll have many collaborators and investigate these topics about ethics, political philosophy, philosophy of science, and how they're connected to attention. And just thought I'll give an overview of some of my ideas about this topic. Okay, so this is the ethics of the attention economy as I've been sort of thinking about it. So I will present this here. Okay. So as a start, we can think about Facebook and Google. Okay. They are two of the 5 most valued companies in the world, and many of you, of course, are using them. Just to give you a sense, together their market value is about 3 times the GDP of all of Norway, okay? So their market is clearly a very big market, and their product clearly is a very valued product. So I'd like to know, why are these companies so valued? What are the products that these companies are selling so that they make more money than Norway, okay? Now, of course, these companies are usually known as technology companies, IT companies, information technologies. That's what they deliver. They employ some of the best computer scientists in the world, have developed some of the most advanced information management systems in the world. And so it's natural to think that they deliver some of these technological services, digital tools that we're all using, from Facebook to Instagram, Gmail, Google, WhatsApp, YouTube, TikTok, and so on and so forth. So that's their business, right? So social media, search, technology tools that we're all using. That's a natural idea. So would be then the idea that they're selling a product that we all want to us as the customers, namely technology tools. Tools for connecting with our friends, tools for finding information, and so on. So that's their valuable product. And since we want that, they are getting a lot of money. Now, one problem with that, though, is that when you go to Facebook, you see that it doesn't cost you anything to be on Facebook. And the same is true for many of the services of these companies. Google doesn't cost anything. If it's free, and always will be, then, well, how do people make so much money on Facebook? How can you, if you're a customer, it seems like they should make money of you. Right? So what exactly is the relationship between the individual user and Facebook or Google? It seems difficult to think of them as the relationship between a customer and someone who provides a product. If I buy shampoo, then I give the shampoo company money, and in return they give me shampoo. But I'm not giving any money to Facebook or Google. So since there are no financial transactions between us and Facebook or Google, these are just examples, these companies that work similar, we can't be their customers. I mean, that clearly is not the right way of thinking about it. We're not the customers of Facebook and Google. We're not paying them anything. Okay. What's then the relationship between the individual user and Facebook and Google? We are their asset. We are what they have and what they sell. The user is the product. Right? You, I, we all are the product that Google and Facebook are selling. Right? We are their product. Okay, so I'm going to try to explain what sense that's true. Okay, so that's something that Wiliams also says in the book that I've assigned for this. So what about us is then so valuable? Why would, in what sense are we their product? What's so valuable about us? Well, think about it. The first thing you do in the morning is you take your phone and you see, have there any texts, new things on WhatsApp, new things on Instagram, new thing on TikTok, new things on Facebook, and so on and so forth. So what billions of people in the world are doing every morning is to pay attention to what's on Facebook, Instagram. And they let their attention be guided through products like Google. So what you're paying attention to in this vast universe of the internet? Well, Google tells you, it lists the things that are most important among millions and millions of websites. It tells you this is what you pay attention to first because it's listed up on top. Google Maps, where should you go for a restaurant? Well, look at Google Maps. It says there's a restaurant over there. Okay, you pay attention to what's there, and that's really, really valuable. Okay. Now, it's not just that we spend time there, of course, because you spend time also, say, sitting on a chair, but you're not paying much attention to the chair. What's valuable is that you're paying attention to what's there. Okay, so now we'll see why is that valuable. Okay, so the thing is that we should think of this economy that we see with Facebook and Google and so on, not really as an information economy where the information is exchanged for money, okay? Because there's no money paid. I'm not giving Google any money for their information services. It's rather an exchange of attention that's happening. Okay? So that point is made very poignantly in this book by Tim Wu called The Attention Merchants. So he's a professor of law at Columbia University, and he sort of describes the business model of Facebook and Google very clearly as one of advertisements, or something close to that. We'll get to that in a minute. So what Facebook and Google do is sell your attention to advertisements in complex ways. And they do this in very complex ways. And some of them you might not know about. So for example, Google Analytics finds out about the patterns of search of people. And you can pay that is if you have a company, for placing your advertisements appropriately. So they get information, they have a lot of information about search patterns, and that information is then sold to advertisement companies that pay a lot of money to Google for placing the advertisements in line with the search patterns that people are actually using, and personalizing the advertisement also to people according to the search patterns that those particular people are using. Same for placing information on Google Maps or complex forms of advertisement on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and WhatsApp. So that's how money is made, through advertisement. So as Wiliams puts this in his book, there are literally billions of dollars being spent to figure out how to get you to look at one thing over another, to buy one thing over another, to care about one thing or another. That's literally the design purpose of many technologies you trust to guide your life every day. So literally, I think it's important to wrap your mind around this. These and there's now some, there's documentaries about it. Some of you might have seen it. It's important to wrap your mind around the vastness of this idea that the thing that you use first thing in the morning has been designed to have you look at it in order to sell it, your looking patterns for advertisements. That's why it exists, and that's how money is being made. So the way Wu thinks of it, puts this is, we think of this as an unusual platform intermediary. So it lowers the price on one side. So it interacts, the attention merchants, that is Facebook and Google, they interact both with you, the users, and with the advertisement companies. They lower the price on your side. So you give them the attention, gives you IT services. That's the pattern. You give them your attention, it gives you some service that you want, from email to like connecting your friends. And then it takes that attention and sells it to advertising companies and gets money from them. Okay, so it's an intermediary that stands between you and the advertisement companies. Now, importantly, all the money is being made on this side. So there's no money or almost no money being made on that side. So all the money is being made on this side. And of course, that should make it clear where the priorities of these businesses make, because they need to make money. They're going to be with the advertising companies. Now, in a sense, of course, this is not an extremely new idea. That's also how advertisement has worked previously. You see advertisement in these squares, like on Central Square, Times Square in New York. And of course, there's advertisement on TV, which works the same way. So there's content being made to TV shows. So this is a classic TV. It's not Netflix, where it has a different business model. So it produces series, movies, and so on. So those content that's given to you produce attention patterns. Okay, so they, for example, get you to capture your attention. So it's going to be, oh, here's this new thing. It's really interesting. So turn on the TV. They make sure that you stick to it for a long period of time. It tends to harvest, it grows your attention, right? It's going to be most exciting. Then comes a cliffhanger, advertisement, and then comes boring again, cliffhanger, advertisement. So the whole show has been designed to grow your attention, cultivate it in sort of predictable patterns so that advertisement companies rely on it, and then advertisement harvest that. Of course, that business model will also here, the content is supposed to be cheap, and of course so you make it, you try to do it, for example, reality TV is a natural outgrowth of that. You make reality TV so you don't pay any of the actors and so on. You make it really, really cheap, but you're still getting attention. So you try to figure out how can you get attention, and then you try to sell that attention for as much money as possible. So that's how commercial TV is also working. So it also is uses the same sort of attention merchants business model. Okay. Now there are some differences I think that are worth paying attention to between the old sort of TV style attention economy and that new attention economy with Facebook and Google. One is in terms of pervasiveness and resistibility. So TV is, of course, in many people's homes, but you can go to, meet your friends for a walk or go to ski, and the TV is not with you. It's not doesn't pervade as many aspects of life. Your smartphone and Facebook and Google are everywhere you go. You can't live a normal life. You can live a pretty normal life with the TV. You can, read books instead of watching TV. You can't really live a normal life without using, Gmail, Facebook, Google search, and so on. It's not really possible. So really harder to avoid escape that system. And also the economics of the exchange is much less transparent to most users. That means, so you kind of know that when you put on TV, you are supposed to watch the advertisements. And now, of course, you can avoid it. You can, go to the kitchen, make some popcorn during the advertisement. You can switch a different channel and so on. But also, it's transparent. This is how it works. It's really, most people do not know that the whole point and purpose of Google is to get you to pay attention and to harvest that attention or to sell it through Google Analytics to advertisers. Most people don't know how that works, and there's a lot of details that indeed I don't know. And indeed, for example, something I have a master's student is working on this. It's impossible to find out about the algorithms that are used in order to rank, for example, pages on Google or recommend the algorithms that recommend content on Facebook. Even the people who work at Facebook or Google don't normally know how these work because they are very secret. Okay, So it's not at all obvious how it works, and people, so that's a difference. Okay. So I like to think of this as an attention ecology. Okay, so an ecology is used sort of to describe this complex system in nature where there's trees, there's water, there's various animals, there's the worms and the fungus and so on, and they have a complex pattern of interactions. And various, they're competing, they're sustaining each other, so they have formed this complex network of various forms of interaction. I like to think of this environment we live in as a complex attention ecology, where there's really complicated, interconnected habits and rituals and patterns of attention that happen in this multi-person environment that we live in. How much attention do I pay to a story that someone shares on YouTube? What does it matter if it is, who recommends it, about my social network, and so on and so forth. Okay? So you are just like a little fish in that big ecology that's being created and constantly revised through people, but also through these companies. Now, this, for just to give an example of this ecology, attention, habit, and rituals. So, that was, as Tim Wu in his book shows, the creating the habit of primetime television. That is, that everyone at a certain time puts on the television at the same time. That was really important for advertisement in the old attention economy. Now, we're creating a habit of making sure that the first thing people do is in the morning is look at Facebook, what's happened. To get people to think, finding out about something, that's just Googling. That's important to create this habit that's just what you think about. And it's just, if you want to chill out for some time, you're just searching through stuff on Instagram, or you're watching some random YouTube videos, or you want to hang with your friends. You just connect these all to these networks that you have been created. They're again all serve the purpose of using these rituals later to harvest, grow attention, and then harvest it through advertising. So what's happening here is that is a form of what I might call attention engineering. That is, literally, they are deliberately and intentionally affecting other people's patterns of attention and habits in order to increase the efficiency of attention harvesting. Okay, so this is a description of how this attention economy actually works. With that, I'll leave the first part of the lecture. Next part, we're going to think now about what is it about attention that makes it so valuable, why people are paying, these advertising companies are paying so much. So this will be the next part of the lecture.